What's up, you beauties? Welcome to another edition of the Friday Flyover, where today we are going to have a special guest in Bill Matz of the PHLY Flyers, the All City uh, New Flyers Network. So we're going to kind of wait for some people to fall in here. I'm going to share the link on Twitter, and we'll be off and running in just a second. We're also going to be on Twitter Live, and we'll be taking some questions towards the end of the show. It's only going to be a half an hour long show today. Um, Flyers camp started. You may or may not have heard. Yesterday was the infamous bag skate day, if you will, or rope skate, apparently. So I guess if you guys want to talk about that, we can. I'm more interested in talking about today. If you're not following our co-host of the HW Radio High and Wide Show, Travi Ballin, you should be on Twitter because he is there giving live updates and taking pictures and whatnot about what's going on. He's doing a great job of covering the team. Follow him on Twitter at Travi Ballin 26. We'll be talking a lot about what we've seen in camp and practice so far. Technically, it's day 2, but really it's day 1. They're doing some scrimmaging and whatnot. So we'll touch on that for sure. Looks like we have a couple viewers hopping in on YouTube. Say hi, guys, in the comments. We'll get to your questions, comments, of course, throughout the show. And give me a second. I'll get live on Twitter. There we are. I think we're officially live on Twitter. So we'll just take a couple minutes here. As you can see across the banner below, today's topics: camp, obviously, rebuild year 2, which I thought was interesting to hear John Tortorella say what he said. Sounded like they weren't allowed to say the word rebuild, like literally not allowed to say the word rebuild. So we're going to touch on that. If you guys have watched Bill's show on PHLY, they talked about that yesterday as well. And I'm kind of looking forward to talking to Bill about that. He's usually pretty animated, so it should be a fun conversation. And we will also be talking bold predictions. Whatever kind of bold predictions you guys have. Is somebody going to make the team that people are not expecting out of camp? Is somebody going to get cut that we're not expecting from camp, a la potentially Wade Allison? Is Coots going to be healthy all season long? If he is healthy all season long, can he be the same Coots that he was before? 70-plus point scorer, 30-goal scorer. Only Flyer since John LeClair to put up back-to-back 70-point, 30-goal seasons, Sean Couturier. That's the Flyers' hopefully top-line center. Can he return to that form? If he does, how massive is that for the Flyers this season? Could they potentially make a run at the playoffs if Coots is what he was before? Now, the first thing that I think of when I want to say, oh, could the Flyers make a run for the playoffs, is the defense. That's another topic of conversation. What is going to happen with the D? Because it doesn't sound like the defense core is set in stone, right? Because I think as Flyer fans, we're so used to, they have vets, right? They have guys like Mark Stahl. They have guys like, God damn it, I always forget. Is it Matt or Sean? The Walker guy. Nick Seeler. They have vets on this D core. Are they all guaranteed a spot? Or are we going to see guys like Slaypool just mentioned? Let's pop it on the screen here. I don't know if he'll make it out of camp, but I'd love to see Andre. So would I. Andre's a guy that I'm watching. He's my dark horse. He needs to have a good camp. I don't want anything handed to him. But he's a guy I could see making the roster. Who else do we got? We got Yegor Zamula, who can be claimed if he is sent down to Lehigh. So that's something to watch there. Will he have a good camp? Because he has to earn the spot. He's not just going to be given a spot just because Flyers could potentially lose him. Who else we got? We got Ronnie Attard. He's kind of bounced around. Too good for the AHL? Can he play in the NHL? There are people on Twitter who believe that as long as he puts up points, yeah, he deserves a spot in the NHL. I kind of disagree. But yeah, does he have a spot on the Flyers? And if not, will he be in the organization for long? Let's not forget, there's a new regime. He's not a Danny Briere draft pick. He's a Chuck Fletcher draft pick. And I'm a fan of Attard, but he's a third-round pick, 24, 25 years old. There are younger, maybe better defensemen coming up behind him quick. Oliver Bonk was just drafted this year. Excuse me. Helge Grans was picked up in the offseason. Adam Ginning could be a potential third-pair guy. And it's just going to be interesting. So that's something I think we should all be watching for is the defense pair. How's the defense pair going to shape up? I don't think Mark Stahl is he's not going to be a night in, night out kind of guy. And he knows that. He's just my take on Mark Stahl since they acquired him was he's just going to be here until the trade deadline. He's not a guy that they're counting on to win games, more so a guy to bring along the younger guys. Maybe he plays, if there's 3-4 games a week, maybe he plays 2, and then at the trade deadline, they send him off somewhere to potentially win a cup. That's what he's getting paid for. He's not getting paid to keep, you want him to help keep the puck out of the net, but his top priority is development to help bring these younger guys along, which is what we want, I think. We have a comment here from Mr. Twitzer, and I think this is the first time that I've seen you check in, so welcome, Mr. Twitzer. Thanks for hanging out. It's funny that we all know that the team won't be great, and yet this is the most excited we've all been in years. New era of orange. Yeah, and so it seems like majority of fans for, I don't even know how long now, the last, I don't know, let's say 3-4 years tops, have wanted the organization to tear it down, to rebuild the roster. And they've done that. I don't know if they've torn it down to the studs. That to me was always a little bit extreme. But they're transitioning. They're bringing in youth. So I think fans are excited about that. The word rebuild is no longer taboo within the Flyers organization, which I think has people just excited. It's fresh. Like it's literally never been done, right? Not the way that we're hearing it anyways. So fans are excited for that. And what the new regime's doing seems to be doing things the right way. Now, it looks like they're trying to win fans over first and foremost. So they're doing what they can, right? Because they can't play on the ice. You can't swap play. If you can't acquire high-end talent every day kind of thing. But what you can do is you can appeal to the fans. You can say, hey, look, we made mistakes. We're fixing them. And perfect example would be the double logo on the ice, right? Honoring Mr. Snyder. They have January 6th, they're going to honor Ed Snyder. So just stuff like that. Whereas a couple of years ago, they couldn't even acknowledge his birthday. Like, well, come on. So putting that in the actual events on the calendar so fans know, hey, we're going to be honoring the man that created this franchise. Feels good. Flyers fans are for the most part, I think, love the tradition of the franchise. Now, there's still a group out there that, for some reason, seems like they despise it. I'll never understand. Tradition is a good thing. You should be proud of that kind of stuff while still being able to look forward and create new traditions. So hopefully that's the start, putting people back in touch with the roots of the franchise and still being able to rebuild and adjust to the new era of hockey, which, is speed. You want smart players, skilled players, yada yada. So it seems like the Flyers are transitioning, and they're doing that. We should be excited. And there's good people in positions. Danny Briere, Keith Jones. You're not going to come across two better guys. Like, they have good people. Let's get to another comment here from Eric. Eric, we've seen you in here before. Thanks for checking in, man. We appreciate you. Torts did say he was here for mentoring, and you will sit. Not get in the way of kids. Leadership only. So there you go. Straight from Tortorella's mouth there. And usually he means what he says. Honestly, I don't want to see a lot of Mark Stahl. I didn't like him when he wasn't with the Flyers. Hopefully he serves his purpose and he's able to move on and whatever. Mr. Twitzer, once again, been watching since 97. First actual rebuild I've ever seen. Well, got to tell you, if you've been watching the Flyers since their inception, it's the first rebuild that anybody's ever seen. So we're all in the same boat together. We're all in this together. It seems like they're doing things the right way, which is exciting, right? Like, while Chuck Fletcher and Ron Hextall were here, we knew what had to be done. You could see what they were trying to do. But along the way, they'd make a move and you're like, well, this is not right. But let's see what happens. I'm thinking of the JVR signing with Hextall. We were so excited, or how we were pumping up, mid prospects that Hextall was drafting. We were all drinking the Kool-Aid. We were excited because we wanted to win. We wanted to believe. But it wasn't. I think a lot of us were kind of fooling ourselves. The Chuck Fletcher thing, we were excited because, okay, we can finally add players to the roster. We're gonna go back to the old Flyers, yada yada. And towards the end, when he started signing guys like D'Angelo, when it was clear the Flyers weren't going to compete or contend, they traded for Ryan Ellis. That didn't work out. You could see that things, they were just making the wrong moves. This regime, it's fresh, it's brand new, but things certainly seem like they're going to start going in the right direction here, which, we should all be stoked and excited for that. So let me just hop on here, see if I can give Bill a quick shout. Maybe he got tied up a little bit. So if this does turn into a solo show, which is quite all right, I love hanging out with you guys anyways. It's Friday, the weekend's right around or it's here. Here's a question from Eric. Should they trade Cam or Coots at the trade deadline if they're playing good? Try to get prospects and picks back. Here's my thing. I don't know if Sean Couturier is tradable, whether he's healthy or not. 2 back surgeries. That contract is very long. In fact, let me look that up, because I think that's going to go until he's like 37, 38. Sorry for the silence here. So he signed until 29-30. 4, 5, 6 more years, and he's 30. So it'll be like 36, 37. Even if I was a team that was going for it and I was a center away, I'm not trading for Sean Couturier. I think it just is a bad business decision to trade for a guy like that. But Atkinson, on the other hand, is only signed for 2 more years. We'll see. I think he's going to be okay. Can still put the puck in the net. He adds good leadership, good veteran presence. I will say this, though. John Tortorella is a fan of Cam Atkinson. I think they're pretty close. So we'll see. He deserves a shot at winning the Cup. Whether it'll be this year or next, I would put my money on. I don't know. We'll see, because the Flyers do need to move some guys around. You saw in training camp today, they're playing guys like Konechny, Farabee on the left side. Tippett, I think, even switched over there with TK once in a while. So, and they're willing. Guys are willing to play on the left side. Atkinson was over there. So let's get into some of our topics today. So camp obviously started yesterday. Guys did the bag skate. The bag skate thing, I think, gets a little bit overhyped. You know, not a big deal. You'll have some people who absolutely hate it, and I'm not sure why. Some people absolutely love it. Again, not sure why. Uh, it is what it is. I'll speak from my own experience, and it's nowhere near NHL or pro level conditioning, yada yada. But I played soccer into college, and that was the first thing we had to do every year was the conditioning test. And you were told not to bring your cleats, don't bring your shin pads, yada yada. Just bring your running shoes. And I dreaded that day every single year. But when you got through it with your teammates. It taught you, because it taught you not to quit. Keep going, keep going. You can keep pushing yourself, and you surprise yourself. So I don't want to overblow it, yada yada. But it is what it is. It's a conditioning test. It weeds out who took the off season seriously and who kind of screwed around. So if you screwed around, you're under the microscope. You're under the microscope right away, and that's all it is. So you're behind the eight ball quick. If it just shows who was doing the workouts and who wasn't. So day 2 seems like the guys are scrimmaging a lot. Nick Delorier, 2 goals in the scrimmage. Shout out D'Lo. You love to see it, right? Fourth line. I think he was paired with Poling, however you want to say his last name, and Garnet Hathaway, which I think is a solid fourth line. Each player serves a purpose. Poling, I believe, is 26 years old, and I can look that up here. Hathaway, not crazy for the person, but apparently gets the job done as one of the better fourth liners in the NHL. So I'll be looking to see, can the Flyers solidify? Because that's important. Depth is very important to have in the NHL. And you need guys who can shut things down defensively. Not all your forwards have to score 20, 30 goals. It's not going to happen anyways. It's not the video game. But sorry, I was looking up Poling's age, right? Poling. He's 24. All right, it's a little younger than I thought. 6'2", 204. Could be a good fourth line center. Having said that, I think guys on the outside right now, obviously Tanner Lazinski, unfortunate, great guy, and Wade Allison, same deal. Both had kind of similar roads to the NHL, overcoming injury and whatnot. Unfortunate, but same kind of deal as Ronnie Attard. These guys are good kids or good guys, have some skill. Unfortunately, Father Time doesn't really wait, and there are younger, better players coming up behind them, and now off-season acquisitions and guys like Poling and Garnet Hathaway. So something to watch there. And I want to bring up the lines real quick. I believe Charlie O'Connor tweeted out the lines they have in the first day of camp, which, could mean something, could mean nothing. Top line, he's got Travis Konechny on the left side, Sean Couturier, Owen Tippett. Formidable top line if Couturier is healthy. All right. Farabee, Frost, Atkinson on your second line. Totally fine with that. I think Joel Farabee's in for a big year. Bold prediction. There's one. And we'll get to that in a sec. Third line, Scott Lawton, Noah Cates, Tyson Forster. So definitely a defensively responsible line there with Lawton and Cates on there. Forster can provide the offense. I like that he's paired up with the 2 responsible now vets in Noah Cates and Scott Lawton. How will that? I think we'll see most of Forster's offensive output, hopefully on the power play anyways. But, that's no slouch of a line. That's a solid third line in the NHL. And then I want to talk about guys right now. This is the fifth line. Ole Lycksell, Elliot Denoyer, Bobby Brink. So Denoyer and Brink were 2 guys that I had my eyes on over the weekend in Allentown. And while neither of them really showed anything as far as standing out in a positive way, Denoyer, I think, has it's weird because if guys weren't in his way, and I'm talking about guys like Lawton, Cates, Delorier, even Paling, Denoyer would easily be on this team. He's ready for the NHL. I'll go back and read off some stats for you guys here. But since being drafted in the 5th round back in 2020, all he's done is score goals. And he's scored a lot. In 2020, 2021, scored 21 goals for the Halifax Mooseheads. And then you guys all remember what happened the next season. 42 goals and 46 points in 61 games. All right. I believe that was as a 20-year-old or a 19, 20-year-old. And then last season, all he does is set the rookie record for scoring goals with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. That's a big deal. When a guy can move from one of these junior leagues to the AHL seamlessly, that's a big deal. Because you have to remember, these younger leagues, they're a little bit less organized. Like you're playing against professional players in the AHL. These guys know what they're doing. You're playing against men, right? So Denoyer turned 21 years old last January. He's a kid playing against men. He was able to put up 44 points, 23 goals. And that's only his stats, right? He looked like a man in the AHL. Denoyer, I think, is going to be something for the Flyers. And I'm not talking about just a prototypical fourth liner. Maybe he's the next Scott Lawton for the Flyers. Maybe he's going to be better than Scott. Scott Lawton was a first-round pick. So I kind of want to temper expectations. Having said that, I don't think Scott Lawton ever scored 20 goals for the Phantoms, especially not as a rookie. Let me go back and check just in case. So Scott Lawton did score 20 goals. He scored 19 with the Phantoms, but in his second season. So, yeah, there you go. Maybe Scott Lawton's a good comparable. Denoyer is a torch type player. So he's another guy to watch. Will he be the guy that's bouncing between the NHL and the AHL? Because they didn't do many favors going out and acquiring Hathaway and Paling. So we'll see. Or maybe he beats those guys out. We'll see. Bobby Brink, another guy. Think too good for the AHL. The skill's absolutely there. The size hurts him a little bit. He could be better. I mean, from what I saw last weekend, and it was only one game, and the way the Rangers were playing, it was like watching the Mighty Ducks versus Team Iceland. They were just getting dominated physically. And Bobby Brink didn't have his best game. But if you go back and watch AHL tape, go back, watch some of his shifts, or even this year, keep an eye on him because I think he's another one of those guys. You know, maybe Forrester slumps and is sent down, maybe Brink's the call up kind of thing. Because I'm not sure. I'm not sure Forrester plays all 82 games with the Flyers. And that's okay. It's all right. He's young. They'll go through the ups and downs. But Bobby Brink is a guy I think he's there. He's close. Again, if the spots weren't filled on the Flyers like they are, you know, and this is where maybe an Atkinson trade comes in, something like that, an eventual trade. I don't know. We'll see. Brink's on the Flyers. He makes the team this year. There's just too many bodies in front of him. All right. And he would fit very well because you got guys that can put the puck in the net. Konechny, Tippett, Farabee, Atkinson, Forrester, right? All these guys can score. Brink complements these players as a winger. So a guy to keep an eye on throughout camp. We talked about the defense. Ooh. Twitzer, you're on fire today, man. Really pulling for Zayd Wisdom. When he's on, I like the way he plays. And he has a cool name. Yeah, he does. So Wisdom is a kid that I don't want to say that I closed the door on, but he was getting pumped up quite a bit. And so I'm thinking, okay, I want to like this kid too. I had never seen him play until last weekend. I saw him in camp last year, but he was unimpressive in camp. Have to keep in mind that not every player goes from these junior leagues in Canada to the AHL and does what Denoye did, right? And Zayd Wisdom's one of those guys. Played actually pretty decent with the Phantoms in 2021, 18 points, 28 games, but you have to remember those AHL rosters weren't right. We were going through COVID and stuff like that. So the next season, Wisdom played for Kingston, the Frontenacs of the OHL. 38 points, 43 games. That's fine. Didn't really improve on his point totals from the season before with Kingston. And then last year, Wisdom didn't have the best camp, didn't look in shape, if you will. And it showed with the Phantoms. 10 points, 45 games, 3 goals, 7 assists, and actually saw 6 games with the Reading Royals. So when you have high expectations for a player or any expectations, the last thing that you want to see is them getting games in the ECHL. In some cases, maybe they benefit. Sam Wismer actually covers the ECHL team, Reading Royals, and she said it was the best thing that ever happened to Wisdom. I could say this. From what I saw last weekend and what we're seeing so far in camp, the guy's attitude's completely renewed. It's back to what it was when he was drafted. He plays the game with an edge. He's got a little fire in him, and he's got some offensive ability too, right? So we'll see. He's a guy that I think we're all rooting for. You know, Wisdom is a flyer, if you will. He has the kind of, I don't even want to call it old school mentality, because if I say that, there are some people who go, oh, here we go. All he does is fight. No, that's not true. He's got a little bit of edge to him, a little bit of fire in him, which is okay. You want to see the passion from some of these guys. And Wisdom is one of those guys. He was, I think, somebody that we were all excited to draft because that was how he was described. He's a flyer. And so, yeah, hopefully it pans out. If he doesn't make the Flyers, not the end of the world, but you want to see him stick with the Phantoms. And you want to see him get it going down there. Three goals, 10 points. You expect more, I think, from Wisdom. So great name to bring up there, Twitzer. All right. So yesterday we talked about Tortorella using the word rebuild, and the way he kind of was talking about it, he mentioned it like I'm allowed to say the word this year, which I thought was interesting. Was he not allowed to say the word rebuild last year? Right? Isn't that kind of how it came off a little bit? So according to John Tortorella, he said something like, I don't know what they were calling it last year, but in his head, it was year one of a rebuild. And it was. He was analyzing the roster. Who's going to be here, who's not. And I think he did some of that. Provorov's not here. Okay. And some new faces are brought in. There's space for the kids on defense. You know? This is year 2. What happens year 2? It's funny because a lot of people are expecting the Flyers to be in the bottom 5 again, bottom 10. They were worse, I think, last year. And what'd they finish? 7th? If Coots is healthy for an entire season, isn't that a boost? That's a guy that didn't have for 82 games last year. You have Sean Couturier now. Cam Atkinson, a guy that wasn't around for 82 games last year. The forward group is good. And I don't want to say it's underrated because they have to prove that they're good first. Like, the forward group could very well carry this team. Joel Farabee, healthy offseason, right? We mentioned Atkinson, Coots back. Tyson Forster, a full season of Forster, 7 points in 8 games, 3 goals last year. Travis Konechny is a star. Morgan Frost. Can he build upon what he did at the end of last year? The forward group's good. I don't care what anybody says. What still needs to be fixed is the defense, and that's where we're going to see, right? Because even if they put in all the vets, the defense core is not good. If they play the rookies, they can be good, but they're going to be inexperienced, and it's going to show in games. It's just going to happen. The goaltending's there. Carter Hart, we assume, looks like he's going to play. Somehow nothing came out all summer on that stuff. Not that I'm implying anything. Sam Urson could be the backup. They signed for this season and the next two. Flyers stock's pointing way up, in my opinion. If they can get the defense sorted out between now and next offseason, this is a bold prediction. I don't see any reason why they can't make the playoffs next year. And if they play all year this year like they did last year, it wouldn't surprise me if they're in the hunt. It would surprise me if they made the playoffs. It wouldn't surprise me if they were in the hunt. We have another comment from Eric here. I feel if everyone stays healthy and kids improve during the year from last year, this team can compete for the last spot in the playoffs. Torts finds a way to protect Hart and backup goalie. I feel they win. And that's kind of the same sentiment. Yep, exactly. There's talent on this team. And I think the league is going to recognize that this year. Flyers are talented. Are they a bottom 10 team? Probably because of the defense, I guess. But I won't be surprised if they're not. Here's an interesting one. I'd rather see Sam Urson as Phantom's goalie. Give him a chance to win Calder Cup. Phantoms have a team. So here's the thing. I believe this year he still can be sent back and forth. And I think that, in my opinion, I think that will definitely happen. If that can happen, feel free to let me know. But from my understanding, he can be sent down to at least go play in the playoffs. So we are at a half an hour, guys. We have 2 minutes left in the show. Maybe we'll have to have Bill on next week. But I want to know your bold predictions. If you're on YouTube, if you're on in the Twitter chat, let's hear your bold predictions. Let's get your questions. I'll give you a couple minutes here, 5 minutes, and let's go. The Flyers are back. Day 2 of camp. You guys should be excited. I'm excited. I don't think they're going to be as bad. I mean, there's actual competition in camp to make the roster. Guys aren't just being handed roster spots, and I love that. I think that was one of the biggest mistakes with Provorov. Sanheim especially never looked like he was, he's an NHL defenseman now, but for the longest time, he didn't look ready. And for whatever reason, they decided to give him an 8-year contract. You can tell me all you want. Analytics this, he's a puck mover that. Not worth the money in the contract they signed him to. Sorry. Bold predictions, guys. I gave you 2 minutes to get them in. We'll do this again next Friday. So if you don't have one, think it over. Come back next Friday. We had a bunch of people on today. Appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. I'm sure it's lunchtime for a lot of you guys. It is for me, which is why this is only half an hour show. And we'll be back next week. We'll one at the buzzer. I'm predicting a bounce back from Sanheim. Maybe we could move the contract if it lights up. I don't know with Sanheim. The contract is not terrible. It's literally what the Columbus Blue Jackets just gave Damon Severson. Right? So it is a movable contract for sure. Is it a trade deadline move? I'm not sure. At this point, I would rather them keep him for this year and maybe move him next offseason, because I don't want Cam York getting blown up all year long. You know what I mean? I don't want Cam York exposed like this. I want his confidence to be high, kind of thing. And maybe Sanheim can help catch the brunt of what's going to come for the defense this year. Dan Knightley. Thanks for chiming in, Dan. I'm not going to throw that up on the screen, but I will take a sip out of my mug. Blame Nate Thompson. Never gets old. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, get your bold predictions ready. We'll do this again next Friday for the Friday Flyover. And maybe we'll even have Bill on next week. So it's going to do it for today, everyone. As always, thank you guys for hanging out. Have a great weekend.